Welcome to the Shepherd's Chapel Network Family Bible Study Hour with Pastor Arnold Murray. Wisdom is understanding God's Word. Pastor Murray's unique teaching approach brings God's Word alive with meaning as he takes you on a chapter-by-chapter, verse-by-verse study of God's letter to you, the Bible. And now here is Pastor Arnold Murray.
Family Bible Study Hour. Hey, we're ready to get back into our Father's Word. The book of Genesis, as it was in the beginning. Listen to me. If you don't know how it was in the beginning, you're going to have trouble figuring out the end, because we have many types. As a matter of fact, the one type we're dealing with even at this time in the 41st chapter, 41st that is Joseph, who is a type of Savior. And God has used this young man through visions to understand the future, that is to say, as far as agriculture and the producing of crops and so forth, until even though his brothers sold him into bondage, he will be made next in command of Egypt in this very lecture today, because God was with him. If God is with you, it doesn't matter who tries to be against you. There may be hard times, and you may think it may seem to others that God has deserted you, but He never will. Never will. You'll always make it. You'll always make that next hill, because when He is with you, you're going to succeed. When He tells you a certain thing will come to pass. Well, that's what this word is all about. It's our future. It's the instructions on how we live in these flesh bodies, and at the same time be successful, have peace of mind, and perhaps even be a blessing to some around you. To others, they maybe not, but be that as it may, do it God's way, and you'll always be a winner. So we pick Joseph up then as he has explained Pharaoh's dream, and Pharaoh, he bought it, so to speak. I mean, it made sense. He was the one that saw the vision. He said, hey, I like this God of yours. Remember, in Pharaoh's case, there were gods on every corner, all kinds of gods. But he said, this God of yours is something else. It's obvious he's an interpreter of dreams. So with that having been said, let's pick it up, if we may, in chapter 41, verse 41, and let's go with it with a word of wisdom from our Father. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. Think about that. Last 2 years in the jug, in prison. And here he moves from that, being over the prison basically, to next in command of the country of all Egypt, 42. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand. That's his signet. That's the seal. And put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestes of fine linen, that's royalty, and put a gold chain about his neck. Verse 43. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried before him, bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. Think about it. Here a young lad that barely short years before, his brothers threw him in a cistern and sold him into slavery, and by God being with him has elevated him to next in command and over all the goods of the land of Egypt. Verse 44. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, I'm the king, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. In other words, you will be in control. You are in command. And what can be said? God arranges as He will, whereby His plan comes to fruition. Now, what is God trying to accomplish? Well, there's going to be a tremendous drought. And not only does God save the Gentile in Egypt and other places, but also He saves Israel. because they will be drawn to Joseph again, as we'll find out in just a chapter here, whereby they are fed also through this one, that is to say, Joseph. Verse 45. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paaneah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. Listen carefully, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. Now, I need to pass on a little bit of history, I think, about this place. On, of course, the priest being, it means son. These are Egyptian names, basically. But there is something, why would Joseph take a daughter? We have observed Judah, that the trouble that God went through, engineering the travels of Tamar, whereby she conceives, whereby the true line of Judah is kept intact. And now we have Joseph seemingly marrying an Egyptian, which would be and a priest of another people, it would seem, and then you would fall short. You must remember that Egypt was divided in two parts. You had Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt, and there was a pharaoh in each place. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that this family and this pharaoh is from the shepherd kings, the Hyksos, as it is in history. And what were they? You see, if you do a little research, sheep were not raised by the Egyptian, right? But these shepherd kings basically raised them for them and for themselves, but they were, when the dispersal came in part of them moved into that area. And I have no doubt in my mind that through the Hyksos, and even the Hyksos, bear in mind, they were mixed somewhat. But there were a great many of the shepherd kings. And this is why that you find that, in part, why you find the tie between Egypt and the house of Israel in these early beginnings, and even as you will later in the days of Jeremiah, when he and three of Zedekiah's daughters of the tribe of Judah go into that area. As a matter of fact, not too many years ago, there was a perfect Hebrew string on the door of a building, Daughters of Judah. In other words, meaning they were there on their migrations. They stayed there a while. So let it be no mystery why you have that tie. And this will not cause any fallout on Ephraim and Manasseh, because understand, not just everybody was a priest in this day. It was a very prestigious, and though they had many gods, when we see, and was this one, you might say, the God of Israel is who he worshiped? Not necessarily, but most likely in a sense. And at On, it was basically, you could say, the University of Egypt. It's a great place of learning, okay? That having been said, I leave the rest of the research, historically speaking, in your hands. Verse 46. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh, and he went throughout all the land of Egypt. Time to go to work now. Remember, there were going to be 7 good years and 7 bad, really bad. 47. And in the 7 plenteous years, the earth brought forth by handfuls. I mean, it was bumper crops every year. 48. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years, which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities, the food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. In other words, he stored every bit of it that was surplus compared to what was needed for that specific year. 49. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much, until he left off numbering, for it was without number. There was so much of it, you stopped counting bushels even. Many of you in the Midwest have seen during harvest time when our elevators, granaries, won't even hold the wheat or corn, whichever the case may be, and it's simply piled outside until storage is available or sold. Verse 50. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came. So he has 2 sons then within that 7-year time frame, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him. Again, research it yourself, all right? 51. God doesn't change his MO, his method of operation. 51. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh. For God, said he, hath made me forgetful, or rather made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. By that, no worry, no problem. Remember what had happened to him in his father's house, what his brothers had done to him. He forgot to be angry at them. Everything was going so well. And I imagine deep down Joseph knew that even though they had wronged him, that the way God blessed him, that there was an ultimate overall purpose. 52. And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. Now, these 2 names, by some scholars, are referred to, Ephraim and Manasseh, as the United States and Great Britain in these generations. And if you apply those names, you certainly, as I mentioned, the great grain storage in this nation where we pay people not to produce grain, I also leave that in your hands. Verse 53. And the 7 years of plenteousness that was in the land of Egypt was ended. Boom, abruptly. 54. And the 7 years of drought began to come, according as Joseph had said. And the drought was in all lands, but in all lands, but in the land of Egypt there was bread. Why? Joseph had stored it. God, as he speaks, you can count on it. It always comes to pass exactly as he speaks. That's why it's important to you to absorb that is yet future from now as well as past, whereby you know what tomorrow brings. That enables one to be successful. Stop and think about it. In a sense, you have the ability to read tomorrow's newspaper on the national and an international, in a national and international sense. And that's a great advantage. Think about it. 55. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph. What he saith to you, do. So again, I marvel when I think, here this slave boy, lad. He was about 17 when his story first began, and now he's moving on. We can add a little to that. He would be with 7 plus, working on the next 7 plus 2 years that he was in the hole, plus a short period before that. He's moving on up, but he's still less than 30. 56. And the famine was over all the face of the earth, everywhere. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians, and the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt. Verse 57. And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in all the land. So here we see that type again of Savior. What is he saving? Well, this time the flesh, in a sense, because they would starve otherwise. And we see that God engineered, brought to pass the entire plan. And now that it's set in place, the old Nile and the Nile Valley and river, as fertile as it is, had put in quite a store. Chapter 42, verse 1, meanwhile back at the ranch, back home. Verse 1, now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, why do you look one upon another? Why do you just stand around here looking at each other and not doing anything? Do something. You know, they were going to starve. The little ones, cattle, all of them are going to starve. Do something too. And he said, behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get ye down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die, that we won't starve to death. Well, you begin to see the pattern. Here we're going to have the 12 that the last time they saw him, they sold him to the Midianites, which were of Ishmael. And then he was sold into Egypt. And here they go. 3. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. 4. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, that is to say Joseph's full brother, okay, Jacob sent not with his brethren, for he said, lest peradventure mischief befall him, meaning, this was from his favorite wife, Rachel, and he had already lost Joseph, who was the firstborn of Joseph, which he was partial to, and in a sense God used this to get Joseph in the trouble in the first place, made their other brothers jealous of him, and the parent showing partiality caused hard feelings. And of course Joseph didn't help it any by saying, hey, I saw in a dream where every one of you is going to bow to me, you're going to be under me. Well, that didn't set too good, okay, with his older brothers, but be that as it may, it was still God's plan. Okay, next verse. And we go to 5. And the sons of Israel, being Jacob, God having changed his name to Israel, came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Okay, and that being where they were situated at that time. 6. And Joseph was the governor over the land. And he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And there you got it. Joseph's dream. Remember how he told the boys when he was 17 that his sheaf, his bundle of grain would be upright, and theirs would all bow to him? They don't recognize him. He recognizes them, though. And that dream by God is coming to pass even at this time. 7. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, whence came ye? Whence come ye? Question. And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. Now, he's got a little bit of this coming, all right? After all, they, with him pleading, I'm sure some, don't do this to me, and so forth. Hey, they sold their own flesh and blood. That's not a very nice thing to do. And yes, God allowed it because it was part of God's plan. But he has a right to be a little rough on them. 8. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. 9. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, ye are spies. To see the nakedness of the land ye are come. In other words, you're a bunch of spies come here to see how much longer our grain will last, and then you intend to attack. Now that's pretty serious stuff, because if a spy is caught, not necessarily in this day, but very near, it's a death penalty. They lop their heads off. So I'm sure that the 10 good brethren are beginning to be just a little bit nervous about this time, because here the head Modoc, the head ruler, is on their case. Verse 10, and they said unto him, Nay, my Lord, but to buy food are thy servants come. That's the only reason we're here. And I'm sure they've added a lot of, and we're hungry. Our little ones are starving. All we have any interest in is food. 11. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. We're telling you the truth. Thy servants are no spies. I mean, they're getting it right down where the rubber meets the road. They know their lives are in jeopardy right now, seemingly. 12. And he said unto them, Nay, but to seek the nakedness of the land you are come. And I'm sure by this time they're all getting weak in the knees. It would be real easy for them to bow and scrape at this time. 13. And they said, Thy servants are 12 brethren. Uh-oh. The sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, that would be little Benjamin, and one is not. There he was right in front of them. One is not, because they had sold him off as a slave. Actually wanted to kill him at one time. I'm sure that Joseph's emotions within himself, I mean, here's his brothers, they're kind of I don't really want to use the word hate, but I will, kind of a love-hate thing going in his mind right now, because he hated what they had done to him. I mean, when your brothers treat you that way, it can't help but hurt, even if it is God's plan. Now, understand what I'm saying. You know, the natural emotions are going to come through. I mean, they're talking about him. And rather than saying we sold him as a slave, they're saying he is not. Verse 14. And Joseph said unto them, That is it that I spake unto you, saying, Ye are spies. Woo, hey, this is looking bad. This is really looking bad. Joseph is riding hard, his spurs dug in. 15. Hereby ye shall be proved. He's going to give them an out. By the life of Pharaoh. Now this is how serious it is. When you start swearing by Pharaoh, that's it. By the life of Pharaoh ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. That would be his full brother, okay, Benjamin. 16. Send one of you, and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely ye are spies. That's pretty serious. Now, I am sure that in Joseph's mind, he's wondering if they will sell Benjamin, his full brother, out for their own lives. Kind of a test, understand? Or he's going to keep one of them. If I remember right, it's Simeon. And will they just leave old Simeon bound there and all of them take grain and head out, sell another brother? I'm sure that he was wondering about his dear brethren. 17. And he put them all together into ward 3 days. I mean, shake them up, alarm them a little bit. I'm sure in that 3-day time, there was a whole lot of soul searching going on. As a matter of fact, it's going to get into it a little bit. 18. And Joseph said unto them the 3rd day, This do and live, for I fear God. 19. If ye be true men, if you're telling me the truth, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye carry corn for the famine of your houses. And here we see that he wants to get food to his old dad, see? 20. But bring your youngest brother unto me. So shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. 21. Listen to this. And they said one to another, we are verily guilty concerning our brother, meaning Joseph, in that we saw the anguish of his soul. He was terrified in that pit, begging for his life when we were going to kill him. When he besought us, when he pleaded with us, and we would not hear. Therefore is this distress come upon us. God is, and this would have been now something like about 22 years before. And with his stay in Egypt and so forth, 7/7/14, so it goes, 22. And Reuben answered them, saying, Spake I not unto you, saying, Do not sin against the child? Remember, the older brother, Reuben, tried to intercede. And you would not hear? Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. You understand that Joseph, he can hear them. He's speaking Egyptian to them, and they're speaking in the Hebrew tongue. They don't know that he can understand them, but naturally Joseph does. 23. Oh, and here we go. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. In other words, he used an interpreter speaking with them, but he understood Hebrew very well, kind of keeping them at a distance. 24. And he turned himself about from them and wept. It got to him by this time. And returned to them again and communed with them, and took from them Simeon, that'd be the one, and bound him before their eyes. And again, I have to reiterate, I can't help but believe Joseph saying, are they going to sell this one down the tube as they had him? Or will they bring Benjamin? And if I threaten, will they sell him out too, as they did me? Or have they learned their lesson? I'm sure it's going through his mind. 25. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provisions for the way, and thus did he unto them. Now, I'm sure he kind of intended to bless them, but at the same time, it's going to be tough on them, because they're going to think they'll be accused for stealing the money. All right? 26. And they laded their asses with the corn and departed thence. 27. As one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender in the inn, he espied his money, for behold, it was in his sack's mouth. 28. And he said unto his brethren, My money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their heart failed them, and they were afraid, saying one to another, What is this that God hath done unto us? In other words, they just knew that they were going to be accused of being thieves as well as spies, and it did not look good. But their dear brother that they sold in captivity, is kind of having a field day with them, all right? I'm sure that though he wept when he saw that they were remorseful of having sold him, and that old big brother Reuben, when he spoke up to his part, it kind of got to him, I think. 29. And they came unto Jacob their father, unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell unto them, saying, 30, the man who is the Lord of the land spake roughly to us, and took us for spies of the country. Boy, I'll tell you, Joseph's purpose and plan held true. He made believers out of them. 31. And we said unto him, We are true men. We're honest. We are no spies. 32. We be 12 brethren, sons of our father. One is not, being Joseph, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. 33. And the man, the Lord of the country, said unto us, Hereby shall I know that ye are true men, that you're speaking the truth. Leave one of your brethren here with me, and take food for the famine of your household, and be gone. 34, and bring your youngest brother unto me. Brother, and ye shall traffic in the land. You'll be free to do whatever you want to. Now remember, Rachel was Jacob, Israel's favorite wife. And after the loss of Joseph, this is a tender subject. 35. And it shall come to pass, as they emptied their sacks, that behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. It's all there. And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. They still got a brother help back there, okay? Think about it. 36. And Jacob their father said unto them, Me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and ye will take Benjamin away. All these things are against me. 37. And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, Slay my 2 sons, if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to thee again. Reuben, the elder, kind of taking charge here. And I think he could feel that the Pharaoh's man was honest as long as they would be honest. 38, and he said, was Jacob's answer, My son shall not, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. That's to say his full brother. If mischief befall him by the way in the which ye go, then shall you bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. It would kill me. That's what he's saying. A figure of speech. It would kill me. Verse 43, chapter 43 and verse 1. And the famine was sore in the land. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, Go again and buy us a little food. Verse 3, And Judah spake unto him, saying, The man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. Still a little contention here. Verse 4. If thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy thee food. In other words, they're going to kill the whole bunch of us if we don't have Benjamin with us. 5. And if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said unto us, You shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. You're not going to see my face in peace. In other words, I'm going to be full of wrath, and probably indicating off go the heads. 6. And Israel said, this would be Jacob, new name, Wherefore dealt ye so ill with me, as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother? Why did you have to tell him you had another brother here? Verse 7. And they said, The man asked us straitly of our state and of our kindred, saying, Is your father yet alive? Question. Of course, unbeknownst to them at this time, he knew the family very well, and the father as well. Have ye another brother? Question. And we told him according to the tenor of these words. Could we certainly know that he would say, Bring your brother down? Question. There's no way they could have known that. Well, we see here one brother having a little vengeance. Well, I think we could call it that. He's making it pretty rough on them. But deep down, I know his love is there for them. But he's testing their okra. He's testing their mettle. He wants to know what kind of people they really are, those that would sell him into captivity. And I suppose It is easy for one of us to forgive what people do to us, but would not forgive if they would do it to a brother. So, in testing them, and I'm sure the emotions within Joseph are running very deep at this time. I'm sure what he wanted to do in a way was to fall on them, to hug them and welcome them and let them know who he was. But on the other hand, inasmuch as he had a place of such a responsibility, there's no way he could ever know if they really loved him or not, or if they would really prove themselves had he done that. They're going to bow and scrape to him regardless of what, because of his power at this time. So he's leading them on, and we'll pick it up in the next lecture. Hey, don't miss it. It's great. All right, bless your heart. You listen a moment, won't you please?
Our Father truly loves you. I love you because you enjoy studying our Father's Word in more depth. But what's really important, He loves you for that. It really makes His day, and I want you to know that I appreciate you. We're brought to you by your tithes and offerings, and we've helped you. You help us keep coming to you. Once you do that, bless God. Know what? He will always bless you. But there's one thing that's more important than anything else. That's this, that you stay in His Word every day. In His Word is a good day, even with problems. You know why? Jesus is the living Word.
The Mark of the Beast on CD is our free introductory offer to you. What is the Mark of the Beast? Many false teachers would have you believe it will be a tattoo on your forehead or a computer chip implanted under your skin. It is getting late in the game. You need to know what the Mark of the Beast is. As it's written in Revelation chapter 13, verse 8, many will be deceived. There is no need for you to be deceived. Christ said in Mark 13:23, "Behold, I have foretold you all things." Jesus indeed told us how not to be deceived, and Pastor Arnold Murray takes you on a step-by-step study of God's Word concerning this critical subject, the Mark of the Beast. The telephone call is free. The CD is free. We don't even ask for the shipping and handling. It is free as well. All you need to do is call 800-643-4645 to request your one-time, one-per-household copy of the Mark of the Beast. You may also request your free CD by mailing your request to Shepherd's Chapel, Post Office Box 416, Gravette, Arkansas 72736. Don't be deceived by Satan. Hearing God's Word with understanding will change your life. We hope you have enjoyed studying God's Word here on the Shepherd's Chapel Family Bible Study Hour with Pastor Arnold Murray. If you would like to receive more information concerning Shepherd's Chapel, you may request our free introductory offer. Our introductory offer contains the Mark of the Beast audio tape, our monthly newsletter with a written Bible study, a tape catalog, and a list of written reference works available through Shepherd's Chapel. To request our free introductory offer by telephone, call 800-643-4645 24 hours a day. You may also request our introductory offer by writing to Shepherd's Chapel, Post Office Box 416, Gravette, Arkansas 72736. Once again, that's Shepherd's Chapel, Post Office Box 416, Gravette, Arkansas 72736. We invite you to join us for the next in-depth Bible study each weekday at this same time. Thank you for watching today's program, and God bless you.